Five.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Public Safety Committee meeting. We have two topics this afternoon. The first is a briefing on the Office of Animal Services, and the second is a briefing on the Office of Consumer Protection. I did want to note that at least one of the committee members does have, I believe, a hard stop at 3:30. We hope to be finished well before 3:30, but if we're not, then we will be ending at 3:30. We would like to thank Carlos Camacho for preparing the packet. And before I ask Mr. Camacho to lead us through the packet, I'd like to ask if either of the other committee members have anything as opening remarks. Mr. President or Vice President, do you have any opening remarks?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Eager to get into it. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President.
No, I've got questions and comments in the end, but not at the beginning.
Yeah, so do I, but thank you. And with that, and Mr. Tom Koenig, who's the Executive Director of the Office of Animal Services, was here, and I'd like him to please introduce those who are with him and ask if he has any brief remarks as we begin.
Just looking at the participants that we have here, we have Bonnie White. She's our business operations manager and the one who runs our budget for the department and works with county staff in that regard. We have Faith Calazar, who's our adoption supervisor. We have Greg Lawrence, who's our chief veterinarian. And we have Jack Breckenridge, who's our criminal investigator or cruelty investigator, I'm sorry. Maria Anselmo, who's our community relations manager. Lex Lapiars, who's the deputy executive director. And I believe that's it. I probably captured everybody who made a meeting, so.
Okay, very good, thank you. And with that, Carlos, if you could please lead us through the packet.
Sure, thank you, Public Safety Committee Chair Katz. So basically the purpose of this session is just to provide the committee with the opportunity to meet with the department, to receive any key updates on programs and initiatives, and review any spending and performance data. So just as a little bit of background, the Office of Animal Services, they were created out of the Montgomery County Police Department in July 2020 through Bill 2120E. So basically FY21 was their first year operating as their own independent department, and as such they had their first budget. So they've been working with MCPD. They had an MOU in place for FY21. They're currently revising that MOU just based on kind of what happened in FY21. So that will be done shortly, but basically some of the things within that MOU are just continued collaboration between the Office of Animal Services and MCPD related to cruelty investigator position, MCPD support for the OAS Communications Center, budget procurement, HR, things of that nature. With regards to the budget, like I said, it was the first time that the Office of Animal Services kind of controlled their own budget. They went through 2 savings plans throughout the year, as many other Montgomery County departments did, and worked through challenges related to COVID-19. They ended their FY21 budget around 3% over what the FY21 approved budget was, primarily due to hazard pay, or the pay differential that was paid to front-facing staff during the pandemic. In terms of staffing, so OAS currently has 10 vacancies out of a total of 74 positions. They are currently working to fill many of those and are in different stages of the recruitment process. Going into the communications and field services aspect, so OAS, they have their own communication center, which currently operates 5 days a week for 12 hours each day. calls outside of this time frame, which is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., are answered by the county's emergency communications center. But OAS plans to expand that to either 5 days a week for 16 hours or 7 days a week for 12 hours once they are able to hire additional dispatch staff. The communication center received 18,515 calls in FY21. Due to some of the staffing challenges that I mentioned previously, the communication center prioritized calls from highest priority to lowest priority, and we're actually able to resolve 35% of the total calls of some of those low priority calls without actually having to dispatch an officer. Going on to shelter operations. So the admission center for the Office of Animal Services stayed fully operational, so that they're constantly intaking animals and providing care. But the adoption center was closed to the public from March 2020 to August 2020. They did, however, continue to do adoptions through appointment only, and I believe they're still doing that. But as of June 2021, the adoption center was reopened to the public. But they do still have COVID-19 protocols in place. So due to, some of these changes in shelter operations, the number of community members that were served through the actual shelter was severely limited in FY21. So only about 3,284 customers were served through the different programs that OAS offers, representing about a 90% decrease from FY20. The veterinary team continued to provide care for animals. They provided around 1,230 spay and neuter surgeries, 4,000 medical examinations, over 5,600 vaccines, and also helped to do exams for potential animal cruelty cases. In terms of programming, so OAS did make some changes in FY21. So actually, this happened in FY22, but they have drafted some changes to their adoption policies and procedures, kind of following the Humane Society Adopters Welcome manual, which I can share with the committee members if you'd like. But it's basically a way to reduce barriers to adoption, shorten the length of time that animals spend in the shelter, and really placing more trust in adopters. And the draft policies and procedures can be found at circles 29 and 36, and they kind of go through those changes. So adoptions did still continue, and OAS has engaged in various promotions to kind of increase adoptions of animals. So there's the Clear the Shelters initiative that was held from August 23rd through September 19th, 2021, which, made adoptions half price, or any animals that were in the shelter for over 30 days were free. And this resulted in 198 animals being adopted during this time, which was an increase over 2020. And then there's other adoption programs like Operation Feline Freedom and Pocket Pet Palooza, which concentrates more on cats and also smaller animals like rabbits and guinea pigs. So in total, 1,290 animals were adopted in FY21, which was a decrease from FY20, which could be due to various factors like fewer animal intakes, the modified adoption processes, staffing challenges, etc. Rabies clinics were
I'm having difficulty hearing Carlos. I don't know if anyone else is. You are? Okay. Carlos, there's a, are you frozen?
Right.
Can you?
Yeah, I'm having
Yeah, I think we all are, but
troubles as well.
It has helped if you turn off your camera, this would, and maybe we can hear you easier. For some reason, that seems to be at some distance. Why don't we try that? Doesn't mean it's going to work, but why don't we try it?
Can you hear me better now?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, great. So as I was saying, OAS has switched from having monthly rabies vaccination clinics to offering weekly by appointment only clinics. And this has proven actually very successful. It was first implemented, to reduce crowding during COVID-19, but it actually increased the number of rabies vaccines administered through these clinics. So in FY20, they administered around 402 vaccines. In FY21, it rose to 988. They've also received very positive customer feedback. So they will use this model of weekly by appointment only clinics going forward. Pet licensing was down primarily due to COVID-19. Revenue decreased by, I think, around $96,000. But, with COVID kind of subsiding somewhat and the state moratorium on collecting fees now lifted, OAS will now require the purchase of a pet license whenever you bring a pet in for a rabies vaccination going forward. So that should increase that program. In terms of the volunteer program, so again, because of COVID, OAS paused onboarding of new volunteers. They ended FY21 with only 37 in-house shelter volunteers compared to 75 in FY20. And that, of course, reduced the number of volunteer hours worked. But the foster volunteer program saw a pretty sizable increase. So the number of hours worked by foster volunteers increased by around 8%, with 184 different volunteers participating in the foster program. Also, as a result of COVID-19, which seems to be a very successful program, was the Safety Net program, which provided foster care opportunities for owned pets whose owners could or who were unable to take care of their pets temporarily for reasons due to illness, homelessness, financial strain, or other emergencies. But once the owners were able to once again care for their pet, those pets were reunited with their owners through that program. OAS also worked with 81 transfer partners and transferred 865 animals to partnering organizations. This was a pretty sizable increase from FY21 or from FY20. Around 170 more animals were transferred in FY21. And the reason why animals are transferred to two different partners is, it can range from expertise with specific breeds, providing more access to adopters. Some organizations provide expertise with behavioral needs, so things of that nature. Other animal outcomes, so the average daily population in the Montgomery County Animal Services and Adoption Shelter was 239 average daily population compared to 271 in FY20. The average length of stay for domestic animals was 21 days, which was 2 days less than the average length of stay in FY19 and FY20. As I kind of mentioned before, there was fewer intakes, which was a 10% decrease over FY20. The return to owner rate for stray dogs was 91%. The return to owner rate for cats is 6%, but that is just much lower than dogs nationally. The live release rate was 92%, which was an increase of 3% compared to FY20. OAS did experience an 88% increase in owner-requested euthanasia surrenders. So this service was suspended for the majority of FY20 due to staffing challenges. And OAS believes that the increase was probably due to just the resumption of this service in FY21. As I kind of mentioned with the transfer program, OAS collaborates with a lot of different local and national partners. OAS also manages community grants for the Animal Welfare League of Montgomery County, the Welfare League receives around a $15,000 grant for the provision of low cost spay and neuter services. And then the Second Chance Wildlife Center, they receive around a $70,000 grant for the care and treatment of wildlife. And then the final thing that I'd like to mention is just some legislative initiatives. So legislation was drafted and is under review by the county attorney to make changes to the county code that would support further humane efforts to manage the community cat or feral cat population. The legislation, as drafted currently, would make changes with regard to definition of owners and at-large animals, the types of disposition of impounded animals, changes to pet licensing, rabies control, and also the return of community cats to where they're found. There's also another bill being drafted and considered by the county executive that will require community veterinarians and veterinary offices, clinics, and hospitals to submit copies of rabies vaccination certificates to OAS, so that OAS would be able to use this information to assist victims of dogs, cats, ferret bites. And then at the state level, OAS is proposing legislation that would amend the state's animal cruelty code. So currently, animal cruelty violations are considered misdemeanor offenses, but OAS is proposing changes that when an animal dies as a result of a cruelty violation, the offense could rise to the level of felony, or a conviction could result in a lifetime ban of ownership. So that's kind of a somewhat brief overview of what OAS kind of went through during FY21. So I'd give it back to the committee for any questions or for anything that the Office of Animal Services would like to add.
Thank you very much, Carlos. We appreciate it. Tom, did you have anything to add before I turn to my colleagues?
Not really. I just want to say there's a lot of information thrown into this packet and trying to track all of it. I know with the number of agencies that are under review during this process, but the county staff have been so great about helping us get through this first year of budget and the transition. And so, but we're here to answer any questions you might have. I think I'm good for now.
Okay, thank you. If someone has a concern Sunday night at 5 o'clock at night, who do they call now, and how do you respond?
Well, if it's a complaint or a call, they would generally call the non-emergency line, the 301-279-8000. And then that would go up until 10 o'clock. It would be that they would dispatch the officer through CAD directly to the officer. So our officers monitor both our system, which is our chameleon system, where we normally dispatch Monday through Friday, and then everything else comes through CAD during our off hours when we're not. And everything all the calls that we take in CAD are eventually converted into a chameleon call, so they're all coming out of the same database. Okay. So, but the weekend it's through the ECC through their CAD system.
On page, I guess it's page 2 of Carlos's packet, it says that much of the transition out of Montgomery County Police Department has been completed, and you're working on this, the additional MOU with many, many other topics. Is there anything beyond the MOU that you have to be working on in order to be completely separated from Montgomery County Police Department?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is establishing relationships with the county agencies, such as human resources, procurement, the administrative stuff that is ongoing right now will all go through those agencies, whether it's budget, fleet management, IT, establishing up, having to establish our own payroll, with our timekeeping. It's completely different. One of the things that you have with the police department, because of the size of it, it's very, all those entities are within the department to support all of that activity. So when we got moved out, a lot of that, whatever's not going to be taken on by the left in the police department, which is mostly the police applications, it all rolls into the county. And so the transition has been establishing those relationships, establishing the needs of the organization. It went from everything from our computer systems, telephone system, especially the mobile, all of our, recruitments to classifications to budget preparation to procurement actions. All of that now falls on the department to work out and get all set up. So much of it, there's a lot that happens on the front end, and then as time goes on, especially when we have a position that's in the department that's assigned to us. So there's a cost back for that we work out. And the other was the centralized services that's provided by the county that obviously we receive through the department, but now we have to establish those and get those budgeted for ourselves. So it just takes time to get all of that done. So.
Right. I'll tell you, I think all of us have received concerns about volunteers and how we have or don't have enough volunteers. You say on there that it's like 5,000 hours of volunteers, and I sort of have to wonder, how are you counting, as an example, a foster animals volunteer, a person that's fostering animals, their volunteer hours? Are you counting that as 24 hours a day? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't believe it's counted that way. Maria, you're on there. Can you tell them how they count the fosters versus the volunteers that actually come to the shelter?
Sure thing. So the way we track our foster care hours is by counting the number of animals in foster each day. So our daily population of animals in foster homes. And for all cats and other animals, each foster adds up to 1 hour per day. For our dog fosters, because there's just a little bit more involved with having to take them out for walks and such, dog fosters count for 2 hours. So we total the entire population for the month and add up all of the hours, and we add up the dog hours and multiply those by 2, and that's how we come up with our total of hours.
Okay, I have to go back and look at the math. I thought your numbers were high, so I'll have to go back and double check the math then, now that I understand how you do it. Before COVID, the number that we had for people who were volunteering in the shelter was about 75. If from what I understand, that we're pretty low compared to I always like to call them our competitors. Fairfax, it's my understanding, have about 400 active volunteers. Prince George's County has about 250 active volunteers. Why were we so low before COVID? Obviously, COVID's a game changer. I'm not talking about during COVID, but before COVID. Why were our numbers 75 versus 400?
Maria, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to take that? Because
either one.
The past numbers are, when we talk about active volunteers, there's a certain number of hours that we would call like an active volunteer. So whether the other jurisdictions do that or not, but the way we accounted for it, and Maria, correct me if I'm wrong, but they work a certain number of hours per week, I believe, or per month. And then we count some of those as active. But at one point in time, we had over 200 volunteers signed up to work here at the facility. So, but they do it within the time that they can do it. We don't consider them active if they're not doing at least a certain amount every week or every month. Am I getting that right?
I can just tack on that. We'll have in our system, say 250 volunteers listed, but we don't count them as active when we report our statistics unless they actually did put in hours. So what shows up is who actually volunteered hours during that time period. So they may have gone through the onboarding process and are volunteers, and so they may show up as listed in our system. But if they don't put in hours during those months, we do not track them as an active volunteer.
Do you know whether Fairfax or Prince George's County tracks them the same way we do?
I do
Yeah, I'm
not know.
unaware of that. I'd have to ask them. I would have to.
I would be
ask them.
interested to know that, please.
Okay.
And it's also, how often do you do that? Doesn't someone have to go through the training in order to become a volunteer? And how often do you do the training for someone to be able to volunteer?
Maria, go ahead. You
Yep.
can answer.
All right. So we did have them as a once a month start with the information session, which is sort of a standard onboarding procedure that animal shelters have adopted that talks about what's involved with volunteering at an animal shelter, as well as background for the information about the shelter. So we found that with that whole once a month thing, that we don't have enough spaces to hold them once a month when we're limited on the number of people that can come. And so they're booked out 4 to 5 months. So what we are doing is making a change. So the information session will be available online for people to view on their own time, and then answer a short quiz that sort of shows that they did watch this, they do understand what we require of volunteers and what sort of things they may be asked to do as volunteers. And once they have then completed that quiz, we send them information on the next steps in the onboarding process. And so this way, we're hoping to eliminate all of these, having to ask people to wait 4 or 5 months before they can
I've heard
start
that, yeah.
volunteering. So that will be up and available before the end of the month. It is in recording process now.
You're saying before the end of October.
Yes.
So somebody in November will not have to wait 4 or 5 months in order to say, I'd like to help out here, right?
That's right.
Okay. The whole idea of community education and whatnot, how are we doing on that? For the whole idea, McPaul and others were doing some of that work. How are we doing it now?
I'll put that back to Maria. She's our community outreach.
Maria, it's a good thing you're here. I'm telling you.
It is a
right
good
now.
thing that I got invited in here
Yeah, that's
last
right.
year.
Yeah, I now know why he invited you to the party. Go ahead.
That's right. So during COVID, we also had to sort of stop our offsite event things, but they've picked up again. So we are getting invitations to offsite events where we're going, and rather than just promoting adoption, speaking more about humane care of animals, working with schools again. We've worked with several retirement facilities and done some visits with them where they get to interact with the animals as well. And we're working with several Girl Scout troops, as well as we've had Eagle Scout project coming on where they're going out into the community to help educate on our behalf.
Okay. I have other questions as well, but I'm going to turn to my colleagues and then see, and if they miss anything that I have on my list, I'll come back. Vice President Aubrey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for joining us. And I think it's about the 1-year anniversary that I had the opportunity to come out and take a tour of the shelter. I'd never been there before. I'd missed the ribbon cutting several years before that when I was working in the executive branch and had always wanted to go. So it was an enlightening and very warm experience all the way around. I was blown away by the dedication of the staff, the complexity of the work, and just really want to express my appreciation to all of you for what is work that frankly just takes a lot of heart and love. Pets are an extension of our families. Our animals have to be treated with dignity and respect themselves. It's what makes us a strong community in addition to so many other things. And with that, and this is a good opportunity, we have very passionate advocates on behalf of our animals. And so I'm thrilled to be working with our chair, Councilmember Katz, to introduce legislation tomorrow to create a Animal Services Advisory Committee. Now that you all are an independent agency, the Recreation Department, when I was the director there, leaned heavily on its advisory committee to help us in a variety of ways to bounce ideas off of for advocacy. And so I think this will present another opportunity for us to expand the reach, scope, and frankly, just the general information and knowledge of the great work that you all do. I do have a few questions as a follow-up to some things you said, Mr. Koenig, and then I have a couple of additional questions. I know a thing or two about transitions of departments and agencies, but I just want to underscore. So you're down about 13 or so % of your staff, and I think you mentioned that in that transition, now that human resources, you're working directly through them and not obviously through Montgomery County Police and their Office of Human Resources arm. That's why we still have the number of vacancies we have now, or is it a matter of supply and demand? We're struggling to fill positions in a number of categories in other county agencies. So is this a combination of challenges with OHR being overwhelmed and having to report to a number of different departments and trying to recruit folks in these key positions? What's your assessment, if you can elaborate on why we haven't been able to fill some of these vacant positions?
Yeah, well, what I will tell you is, first, many of these positions are newly vacant. So at the time we were getting ready for the report, when we first started, we were only down like 4 positions. So that has increased really over the past month or so. For one reason or another, people have moved on in their careers or have decided to do something else for a living, or some other things that are going on personnel wise. So OHR has actually been pretty good about keeping up with our numbers. We have a dedicated person for recruitment only, and she does a fantastic job. And she has other agencies, I know, and sometimes it's a balancing act for her. So there's some delay, but I think it's minor delays. One of the things we kept with the police department was any of those employees. We have 2 employee groups that continue to work with police applications. And the cruelty investigator, which is still in the police department, serves as the supervisor of the application side of this. So those people still get what we call an NCIC clearance, NCIC level clearance, and that's done only by the department. We can't do those. Every other employee that doesn't get that would get so that causes, the police department background investigation can take like 4 to 6 weeks. And so it takes a little bit of time to do that. And then the rest of the employees get what would be considered like a contractor level type clearance. It's a lesser clearance, but it's still substantive in what we're looking at to make sure we get high quality people to that. So the background takes a little bit on some of those positions. But to be honest, PD, HR, and OHR, they've worked together through this. And whenever we want to recruit a new position that they're not familiar with, but police department is, they'll reach out to each other. They talk to each other all the time, and then they talk with us. So it's just learning all of those HR things. Bonnie White is our operations manager. So it's not just functional things that you do. As you know, there's a system that you have to work with OASIS and all of that to make sure all these actions are input properly. And so that was kind of like an education piece for us to learn how to get all that done. But we're getting there for sure. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And any support you need, obviously, with our Department of Human Resources, which of course reports to our Government Operations Committee. Councilmember Katz is on the Government Operations Committee, but I know it's been a challenge across different sectors, but this work, as you all know intimately, is so important. And so if you ever need a plug, please don't hesitate to reach out to request that of us. A couple of other questions. So we were made aware recently in our office of a woman who's Latina who was trying to report some stray kittens that she had seen in her community. And to her credit, she wanted to not just abandon those kittens, but try and help them. And so, and we did this through reading. We found out about this through reading a social media platform and a platform that was forwarded to us. But I think it's indicative of a broader opportunity for us to discuss similar issues that may be occurring across the county. And I know Mr. Camacho in his report mentioned some of the challenges with regards to how we address abandoned kittens. But could you talk a little bit more about that policy and process, Mr. Koenig, on so where does the dispatch what do they do when they receive a report of an abandoned kitten, and how are they trained in how to deal with that? And then I'm going to ask some follow-up questions about multicultural capacity and language access. But if you can just talk generally about practice and policy and procedure for our public on what we do in those instances, that would be helpful.
Well, thanks for the question. The bigger answer for this, or the broader answer for this, is that the one thing about cats and kittens and circumstances and situations you find them, it's across the whole spectrum. So each case is really judged or independently on itself. And we give general directions for the officers to, when there's an abandonment case, or if there's some kind of case involving concerned citizen with cats, we go out and we take a look at the circumstance or the situation, and we start making decisions about how that needs to be handled. If I'm thinking about the case that you're talking about, I think somebody was taking care of those particular cats. So that they were outdoors, there was no clear owner, but there was alleged somebody was taking care of them, because and then the next day they came to our office. So basically we try to get in touch with we do everything we can to get in touch with the caretaker. In this case, there was no response at her door, so we left a note for her to call us, and then we were going back the next morning to check on the cats to make sure they were still okay, and then talk to the owner. But there's like I said, if it's an abandoned kitten and there's no mother cat, then obviously they're going to bring it in because we have to care for that cat, and that would likely go through veterinary services or through our foster programs. We have a lot of neonate fosters who are specialized in feeding cats that don't have their mom. So that sometimes does happen. So, but generally, if there's the mom and the cats and they seem to be healthy and they're taking care of themselves, we generally, if there's a caretaker there, then we generally leave them and let them take care of them the best they can. If they're sick or injured, that's automatic. They come back to the shelter. But if they look healthy and they're acting healthy, we're looking at them, and our officers are trained in doing this, make sure that they have somebody there to take care of them.
I appreciate that. And just, another constituent issue that came to our attention earlier this summer, a woman, again, just came across, separate case, but came across an instance in which she saw a mother cat with kittens, called it in, and she was told that that you guys needed to wait until the kittens were 4 weeks old before they could be picked up. And is that standard policy, or I guess you sort of handle these on a case-by-case basis? That's what you just tried to describe.
If it's a mother cat and kittens, we're not going to remove the kittens until it's 8 weeks. That's a state law. So you can't separate the kitten from the dam until it's 8 weeks old. So if there's a separation that's already occurred, obviously we would go out and get the kittens, and we would provide for that care, that neonate level type of care. So, but we can't separate the kittens from the dam. We have had cases where people have had kittens that were 4 or 5 weeks old and they were selling them. Mm. And you can't keep them with the mother if you're selling them. So we often have to watch out for those cases as well. But if they're healthy, and if somebody calls in and says they're here, but they're tearing up my backyard, they tore up my screen door, it's a nuisance, then we obviously would go out and remove the cats from that property. So okay. Like I said, there's some variables to there that would act differently. If I'm not sure, I don't know that call, but dispatch has got the same information I have, so that's normally how they should be responding. So
okay, I appreciate that. Just a couple of other follow-up questions. So about 40% of our population in Montgomery County speaks English as a second language, with Spanish being the overwhelming majority of those folks that speak a second language. And this does present a tremendous opportunity for us. But now that you all are your own independent agency, what plans do you have to ensure that we provide culturally appropriate information, and that we also are ensuring when folks call in, or that we market different programs and services and clear information? What's the plan in place to reach out to our cultural and multi-ethnic populations?
Yeah, so it's excellent question. So the one of the things we looked at in making this transition is obviously we have a new name and we have a little different perspective on all our brochures, our handouts, flyers, things that we generally do. Some of those are in different languages. We're working on those to make those conversions. The first thing we had to do was to get all of our stuff updated, all of our handouts. It could be anywhere from like the shelter information. It can be about community cats. It can be about veterinary needs or medical exams for your animal or many of those things. Sorry. But we are looking at, we have a number of people on staff that are bilingual in multiple languages. And we take advantage of them as a resource because they're usually pretty willing to help us out. Obviously, we know when we get calls with a language line, it's used pretty regularly by our dispatch staff and some of our officers. And then, but as far as the communications, we're behind the curve on it, but we're moving in that direction. The plan is to get many of these items, especially the handout items, to make sure that they're in various languages. So we're at least communicating with those people that speak a first language is not English. So
I appreciate that. And just to illustrate why this is so important, I had the opportunity in the middle of the pandemic to visit St. Jude, which was one of the food distribution sites. They had a partnership in place with McPaw, and they were providing both pet food in addition to food for families who were in crisis. And it was by far, the most popular destination spot for food distribution among any of the organizations in the county. And the level of emotion that people were showing in mostly speaking different languages was really important. And so it's not just strong customer service, but there's a direct line and connection to public health. And so I think that expanding those efforts is going to be important. And if I were you, I would also look at opportunities within county government. So for example, the Latino Health Initiative, which reports under HHS and launched the Por Nuestra Salud y Bienestar, the For Our Health and Wellness program, they partnered with over 70 different community-based organizations, faith-based, nonprofit, private sector, to help get the word out on vaccinations. They literally won a Grammy for the success of that partnership. And so I would, if I often did this when I was a department head, I would look in-house to see who can help with outreach and to piggyback off of and partner with and align with, which doesn't cost any money, I think would be a valuable resource. And now that you guys are your own independent agency, I think it would be, if you haven't already, to conduct and maybe ask as part of one of those information sessions that are hosted by the Chief Administrative Officer every couple of weeks, I would give a presentation to your colleagues in other sister county agencies, as well as Park and Planning, as well as MCPS, as well as the college, to see how you may be able to leverage those relationships and expand your reach, which again, doesn't cost any money. And I would just advise two other things. The translation of materials, super important, undeniable. But for a large segment of our population who have literacy challenges in their own native languages, particularly those that have been disconnected from families, having pets is just a really strong therapeutic way for them to adjust and transition into our community and society. And so this could be a real win-win here if we launched a comprehensive initiative. And I would suspect, as you mentioned, if you've got bilingual staff, you're going to have people on your team who are organically already interested in doing something like this and devising a system in place reasonable. You don't work people out of their classifications. I have the scars to you got to be careful. But having said that, there's real opportunity for professional growth opportunities for staff that want to jump in and help out to expand their horizons. So I'd love at some future meeting or session, Mr. Koenig, if you can come back to us processing this and maybe with a more definitive plan on how to reach out to our multicultural and multi-ethnic communities. And heck, it may have a price tag, but I think the juice would be worth the squeeze, at least worth exploring. So if you can please come back to us with a more comprehensive plan, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to add that, during the COVID, along with McPaul, and we knew that they were we were looking at all our nonprofits to see that we work with, to see what they were doing in the community and helping others out. So our office coordinated meetings with the nonprofits to see what everybody was doing. And we were trying to coalesce and bring them together to feed at the time we were doing 2 or 3 food banks, but the one that you just mentioned is the one that probably got the most attention and probably ended up being, and so we became a collection place for all the food to help provide that for those in need and helping those out. We also, McPaul has the pantry downstairs. We help stock that with them as well, and for people who are in need and need to come in and just need food to last them the week or whatever because they're just having a tough time. So, and I'm glad you brought up the multicultural stuff as far as the communities that we're not reaching out to. One of our lead goals, and especially when we were getting ready to make the transition, I actually met with Carolyn Sturgis at the time, and I said the one thing we wanted to do that more than anything is get to our underserved community, because we know we're not getting to a certain portion of our community, and they don't know about us. They don't know enough about us, and we don't know what their needs are. And I would like in wanting to do this in a very proactive way. But
your next meeting should be with Sonia Mora, who's now an assistant chief administrative officer, who's a rock star and could be really helpful. Last 2 points, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for indulging me. I know I'm taking up a lot of time here. I want to expand on something that the chairman asked for in terms of the volunteer program. And I totally, I respect and understand the answer that maybe is an apples and oranges comparison to other jurisdictions. But moving forward, what are your goals now that we are transitioning back? And Maria may be in the best position to answer this, but now that you are we are all transitioning back to reality. We know the power of volunteerism, and in particular, these volunteers who are super dedicated and go way above and beyond, which is awesome. But the coordination of volunteer programs is a full-time job and then some, because there's a lot of expectations all the way around, and we have to make sure they're set up to be successful and to harness that energy as effectively and efficiently as possible. So I'm sure you're going to want to beef up the numbers to what they were before FY20, because it's just going to help you all. But as I offered before, if there is some need for some capacity building there to do this right, that's something I'm certainly open to. I know that, I'm not all about unfunded mandates. We got to make sure that we have the right team in place and that we treat all of our volunteers with the respect that they deserve for coming forward and willing to give of their time and energy, and in some cases treasure too, to this really, really important work. So I would, if you could as well, in addition to the plan for multicultural, come back to us with a more comprehensive plan than the one you've enumerated so far. And maybe you've got it somewhere and you can just forward it to us. But where you'd like to see yourself 1, 2, 3 years out in terms of the establishment of a more robust volunteer program, so we can recruit more volunteers and the necessary administrative support that will be required to make sure it's effective. Would love to see something like that. And with that, I will yield back to you, Mr. Chairman. Those are all my questions for now.
Thank you very much. I think you did hit every one of my questions. The only question on the one listing that we had is the volunteer program, the manager, is that a vacant position at this point?
Yes, the volunteer coordinator became vacant a little over a month ago. So, and then we're getting ready to recruit that now.
Okay. In the meantime, and I understand getting ready to recruit, but in the meantime, how are we handling the volunteer program?
That would be me.
That's you. So
Yep,
Maria, you wear about 75 different hats. I mean, we have
Yes.
39 volunteers and you wear 75 hats. So
Yes, so I've been focusing on revamping our volunteer program, and that has been what I've sort of focused on right now the most. We have had in the past 30 days, 10 new volunteers start, and our inclusion program that we work with Montgomery County Public Schools, special needs students on the job training started up again too. So our numbers are already climbing, and our youth volunteer program has also expanded. And our youth volunteers, we have about 20 youth along with their parents that are in the onboarding process right now. So our numbers are going to climb, and they're going to climb quickly.
Well, and which is what we want, and I know that's what you would want as well. And I'm going to turn to the president of the council, but how many people were worked virtual during this COVID? And as an example, did you come into the office? How many people were in the office?
Well, during the height of the COVID, I would say, if I remember the numbers correctly, it waned between 27 and 33 people that were coming into the office when the adoption center was closed. When the adoption center opened, so because we always had vet staff here, the officers were on duty, dispatch, the animal care attendants, they were all working. Our admissions folks were still working, so those areas didn't close down. But when the adoptions area opened up, we started bringing it back. So that number pretty much doubled, and the administrative staff, the executives team, and then the leadership team. A lot of those that weren't working on the first floor, we did telework much of the time. And I came in, I know the deputy director came in a couple of days a week. I came in at least one day a week at that time, and just check on things. And then, but now that's all gone. So we're coming in, we cover every day now. So.
Okay. Thank you. President Hucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all of you for good work. A lot of good questions were asked already. Did you say whether you expect your volunteer hours to return to the pre-pandemic levels, and at what point?
Yeah, I believe they eventually will. I think with the recruiting and doing the information sessions and getting everything built up and back on board, I would hopefully by the first of the year, you'll start seeing the numbers turn and getting back to where we were prior to this. So
by the end of the year. Okay.
By the end of the year. Yeah.
And we've talked about online pet licensing for a while. Are you any closer to putting that in place?
We've had online pet licensing for about 7 years. So
okay.
We do online pet licensing.
Okay, good. I'm under a rock. Okay.
The good news about that is we started at about 18% on online pet licensing, and now we're running almost 60%. And I think we can thank COVID for that because I think a lot of people were getting their licenses more so online than coming in and doing it in person. So that actually helped expand that program.
Glad to hear it. I'm glad I had bad information. Sorry, permit me to scroll here and see what questions are left. We got through a bunch. I'm glad to hear that you do pick up kittens in so many cases. That might be all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thanks.
Carlos, if we could, and as to the Vice President's suggestion, I would like to have an update. I was going to say every 6 months. I don't know, maybe this next one that we do should be a little sooner than the 6 months so that we can start to get ourselves back on track, especially for the volunteer information and other information that the Vice President suggested. So if you could please calendar that for maybe the next one's 4 months, and then after that every 6 months, so that we can be updated, and that the public can be updated as well as to what we're doing and how we need to be doing it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right. And with that, we thank you for the first part of this committee meeting. You're certainly welcome to stay through the entire thing. I know my committee members hopefully will, but we're going to turn quickly to, and there again, thank you all for everything you're doing. We're going to turn quickly to the second topic, which is the Office of Consumer Protection. And Mia is He's here. Okay. There was some question. He was only having to be in, I think, only 2 places at once. I don't know how that worked out for you, but we're welcome. We're glad to see you here. And Eric Friedman, is Eric here? There he is. Freed is what it says on his screen. He has a new nickname. But there again, thank you all very, very much for being with us and for everything you do. I think every consumer protection meeting that I've been involved with since I've been on the Public Safety Committee is we like to start out and say, thank you very much for all that you do. And we're sorry that we can't get you more people. And at the end of the day, we've taken people from you. And we know that you needed more people in the beginning, but we still took them from you. So we've never really been as fair with this office that does an unbelievably good job for all the people of Montgomery County as we should be. And hopefully we're going to turn that around. As I begin, do either of my committee members have any comments? No?
Nope, we're good.
Good. Naim, if you will, and Mr. Friedman, do you have any comments as we begin?
No, just to say that we greatly appreciate the opportunity to have an oversight briefing with the council president, the council vice president, and the former council president. So we definitely picked the right committee, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I can see why you've enjoyed all of this. Naim, did you want to lead us through the packet, please?
Sure. Good afternoon, committee members. The packet is fairly straightforward. It's a one-pager covering a couple of different topics that Mr. Friedman can go further into. I will just note as background, last October, Council passed legislation that, among other things, created a public liaison position in the county government. And then in last year's budget deliberation process for the FY22 budget, Council did approve the addition of 1.5 FTEs to the Office of Consumer Protection, one of which FTEs is for to actually create a new position for the public liaison, and that the department very quickly recruited and filled that position, knowing the importance of it, and brought on board Mr. Valentine, who Mr. Friedman will further introduce, I imagine, during the summer, and thus far, having worked with Mr. Valentine, it's been a great collaboration in terms of managing and providing information to the public on the county's public campaign financing program. But other than that, I don't have anything else to add at this time. So,
thank you very much, Mr. Friedman, please.
Thank you. If I could just quickly introduce the members of our staff that are joining us. Samuel Buo is one of our 2 MLS administrator managers. Tracy Rezvani is our other MLS administrator in charge of our also our volunteers, but our investigators. Samuel is our operations manager and a million other things. The newest member is Maurice Valentine, who's the program manager and the liaison, and we'd like to present some information to you. And then Daniel Garay, who's our administrative aide here. We have put together just a very short PowerPoint, if we may, to go over 7 key topics, just about 13 slides or so. If we could start with that, we could just quickly run through it, and I'm sure then address any and all questions that the committee may have. The first one is COVID-19 and the pandemic. First and foremost, the issue for our office, as it was for the council and for every other agency, was to get up and running and be able to operate as this pandemic was breaking. And luckily, we were able to very quickly transition to teleworking for all our investigators. So we really did not have any downtime. I actually worked in the office and did not take a single day of telework because luckily we were able to have all our staff safely working at home, given cell phones. But one of the key things that we did to make that possible is that we had a sort of home base person where we had one person in the office who was able to communicate in terms of certified mail and making the transition between what people needed to be able to work at home and at the same time keep the processes going that we had here. So it was key. We didn't really lose any downtime. We were able to continue working in force with all our complaints and having some representation within our temporary office, which actually yesterday we celebrated our 4-year anniversary for being in the temporary office next to the detention center.
Was that a celebration, Mr. Friedman? Did you actually celebrate that?
Well, we recognized that. Celebration was
you made note of it. Yeah,
would be a little bit high. But just quickly, with respect to the pandemic issues, we sent out lots of news releases and alerts regarding, as you can imagine, all the new scams that come out during the pandemic. The crooks, as we know, and the unconscionable people that are out there, we know are very clever, and they take advantage of all the news events. So we had everything from fake vaccines and phony contact tracers and price gouging issues and fake maps that you could get to find out who had the virus, all sorts of things. And we did our best to get information out there. We also tried to address a difficult situation that was nationwide regarding the food delivery apps and the unfairness that created for both consumers and for businesses. And we ended up collaborating with Checkbook Magazine and issuing a tremendous report that they put together to help advise consumers and businesses as well. And we also have information on the county's portal and receive some media attention in terms of just getting the word out to protect people from these new kinds of scams that are out there. And so what I wanted to do as for the next slide is to, I know this is going to be of interest to the committee, is this new position with the Public Election Fund Liaison. As you know, the county executive selected OCP to serve as the liaison for Maryland's, Montgomery County's campaign financing public election fund. Department of Finance, excuse me, as you know, crunches the numbers and administers the program, but was overwhelmed with questions the first time this went into effect. So OCP assists with candidates running for office, answering their questions, and helping them with the public application process. And we've done some amazing things to get that up and running in a very short time. And Maurice Valentine is just a tremendous person in that role. We created information on our webpage. We have searchable FAQs that are available. And something that I think we're all proud of is that we created an online system where you can make an appointment to talk to Maurice Valentine and get an answer in writing so that there's no question or confusion. These are very technical questions, as you can imagine. We don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to worry about somebody saying he said or I thought he said. So we have this online system that Maurice handles. And I think if he's on with us, you may want to just make a quick appearance so you can see him. And if not,
I'm here, sir.
Okay.
Hello. Good to meet you all. So I just started working in the county since July. I'm a resident of the county and I'm a proud military veteran. So, Eric, should I start speaking my points?
Sure, please.
Okay. All right. As far as the public election fund is currently, the overall fund stands at $5,020,000 overall. We have 18 applicant candidates, 4 of which are certified. 3 of them have received matching funds as participants, and we've currently paid a match of $234,342 in matching funds. 4.7 million remains. As far as the way I interact with candidates, I interact just as Eric just was speaking about through a web form where candidates are able to submit questions. I conduct research for the questions through regulations, speaking with the State Board of Elections, County Finance, and I give them a response, normally or preferably in 2 business days, but normally within 1. And then it's a process that we rinse and repeat throughout the entire candidates process through the election. So far, I have responded to 33 information requests, 8 of which were submitted through the web form, which I just spoke of, 5 through referrals, referrals through like State Board of Election, through council, press meeting or talks with the press. And then also I've had 20, there were 20 of them that I got through straight through repeated response. So after we do web form, we have continued response through email. See, so far, while I've been here in the position, I've observed 2 of the county council commissions on redistricting sessions. I've done initial communication with the Public Election Fund Committee, and we've discussed outreach considerations. I've conducted outreach with Common Cause this past Friday, and I'm scheduled to conduct another outreach on the 28th with the Montgomery Women Group. Top questions that I receive are about receipts, contribution cards, preferably to digital signatures, which is basically affirmation of the details pertaining to donation combined with initial signature date time group. And normally candidates have sent me examples, and then I grade their examples based on best observed practices. So far, the impacts that we've made with this liaison position is through, as far as the administration of the program goes, is we've had increased efficiency in processing applications and submissions. It allows for more time to complete thorough testing of candidate submissions. It has improved utilization of county resources as far as greater interaction with the Public Election Fund Committee, the Public Election Fund Administrator, and the State Board of Elections, and have added an additional Public Election Fund subject matter expert. Also, for outreach, we've been able to impact the program by giving priority to responding expeditiously to questions from the public and more positive interactions with the public due to added focus on communication and outreach. And so that pretty much sums up my time here since July. And I pass it back over to Eric.
Thank you, Maurice. And you know that the expression, somebody with a military background knows how to get things done. Well, I've learned that now through Maurice, that's for sure. And thank Naeem for enabling Maurice to meet the Public Election Fund Committee, which we didn't even know existed at the very beginning. Dave Scull, former council member Dave Scull, is the chair of that committee. And we were able to meet with them, and they meet periodically to exchange information as well. So that's our newest program, our newest task for our office. But moving on, just to give you a quick oversight, I know that the committee is very familiar with what our office does, so we don't need to spend probably too much time on that. We handle about 1,000 written complaints in FY21. We have auto repair and home improvement and construction and retail sales in 3 major categories that continue. We've gotten, people have new engines that they needed when they went to a quick lube place and they forgot to do the oil change properly and the whole engine burnt up. Council member, President Tom Hucker's office actually sent a referral to us with someone whose house had burnt down. The builder took the money from the insurance company, but never did any of the work. And we were able to not only find the builder, but get them to complete the process there. Retail sales, we've had some despicable stories where families in need of medical equipment paid money and never received the equipment. And you can imagine the problems that caused for families. And we've got a slide coming up later talking about collaboration we're doing with the Department of Permitting Services when we found loopholes in something of the building code definition where new homes were being constructed but not being classified as a new home. So we're doing that. But one of the things that we're the most proud of, and it actually ties into your prior session, is that the value of volunteers. One of the most exceptional things that we were able to do in the last year is some deep dive research on phony political action committees that were deceptively collecting money for so-called for volunteer firefighters. But we continue to be investigating that and have identified a sort of an additional practice that has not been widely reported. And I actually can't even give too much information right now, but hopefully would be able to shortly, because our office is briefing several federal and state law enforcement agencies regarding the information that we were able to uncover based upon the investigative work that over a 1 year period that was conducted almost solely by two volunteers, one a retired attorney who was a litigator with the federal government, and also with a certified fraud examiner. And these two individuals produced and gathered information that's now being used to enable our office to brief high-level federal agencies that may result in some law enforcement action. And I hope to be able to give more information shortly. In fact, this information was actually reported reported Friday in the latest issue of the Daily Beast. They have an article making reference to some of the work that we're doing. So our office has always relied upon the importance of volunteers. I know you spent some time talking about it, and we absolutely recognize the importance of volunteers, work closely with them. The amount of expertise in people in Montgomery County who are retired or looking for work is just phenomenal. We've had retired attorneys, federal agent workers, and all sorts of people. And we also have recruited volunteers with respect to many different languages. And Tracy can probably give us a little bit of information as to
in some either platform fail points. What we discover is sometimes they would want more communication from our office. So we try to make sure that we communicate with our consumers during the course of investigation. But we also, through this process, realized there were maybe some inadvertent periods of time in which there may not have been a decent amount or appropriate amount of communication to consumers. So we have taken that information that has been provided from this discovery research to vamp up our consumer complaint process and to incorporate additional communications to merchants and consumers so they understand where they are at all times during the process. So this has been a very wonderful partnership. We are going to the next steps of it in the fall towards winter, which include reviewing the discovery research we have here, and then finding other ways to implement small but very effective changes that can result in a better experience for all of our users. So we are very thankful for working with the innovation team, the civic design team, and we continue to work with them, and we look forward to working with them in the future.
Thank you.
Just quickly, we'll go through a few more. I know you want to have to leave enough time, of course, for any kind of questions. This is the situation we found with teardowns happening a lot in Bethesda, Chevy Chase, other parts of Montgomery County as well. The county code says that when you tear down an entire house and build a new one, you have to be licensed as a new home builder. But unfortunately, the word entire seems to have been used as a loophole by some unlicensed new home builders, whereby which they leave up one tiny piece of a wall, and therefore it doesn't have to be classified as a new home. They don't have to pay for all the additional fees and inspections. And what's worse is a consumer buying what is essentially a new home doesn't get all the warranty protections that the state and the county would provide. So we're currently collaborating with the Department of Permitting Services to see how that construction code definition can be amended to prevent that loophole from happening. And one of the things we actually enjoy doing the most is collaborating with lots of different agencies in Montgomery County as well. The next slide is just a quick example of that. And this is something that the committee probably already knows about. But while you're also focused on police issues now, just a quick reminder that there are about 7 different types of police work that we can collaborate with the police, from trespass towing, curb stoners, which are unlicensed unlicensed sellers of cars, home improvement contractors that go door to door, moving companies, unlicensed auto repair that are typically done in shopping centers, door to door sales, and secondhand personal property dealers. We license them as a service to the police. These are all subjects that we've been able to help provide information to the police, and the police contact us when they have questions regarding some specific questions, because you can sometimes get a police call for a problem coming from any one of these types of transactions. And just to give some information, in addition to the complaint handling that our office does in consumer education and legislation, we also have a licensing function, and Samuel Buo is in charge of our licensing program, and he can give you some updated information on the status of that program.
Certainly. So during FY21, and particularly in comparison to FY20, we had some interesting insights and performance-related statistics. But first, our business registration and licensing unit, we registered and licensed new home builders, new home sellers, auto repair towing operators, small appliance repairers, and secondhand personal property dealers. We have an online system that merchants can use to renew and apply for new motor vehicle, small appliance repair, and secondhand personal property dealers. We do not have an electronic process for new home builders yet, but we are ideating and starting to deliver our process requirements so we can update that or incorporate that into a future online process. But during FY21, a highlight that we had regarding our business registration unit, we reduced the average number of days, and these are total number of days, the average number of total days to issue a registration or license by 29 or 30% compared to FY20, while we also had an increase of about 12% in our applications process. So what does that mean? It definitely means that when we were in FY20, right before the COVID pandemic, we were primarily an on-site operation. And then in March 2020, we had to mobilize to a remote operation. So we had to quickly implement new policies and procedures and re-envision what it looks like to not just provide a registration service, but how can we also let businesses know that may not have an ill intent, but that, hey, your registration may have expired and you may need to correct this matter. The governor had issued some governor's order that extended the deadlines for a lot of registrations. But the interesting thing is that we saw a significant improvement and speed in which people registered and paid for their applications. So not only did we get about 12% more applications compared to FY20, we were able to process them a lot faster. Our average days in FY20 to issue a license were around 14.10 days. And at the end of FY20, it's around 9.94 days. So we're very happy about that reduction in time it takes to register an application. And the interesting thing also is that for FY20, our revenues from licensing and all of our revenues essentially for the department were 6.77% higher than our FY20 revenues. So that was interesting for us because FY20 was a predominantly remote environment where we were having our admin specialists who administer the license registration unit working remotely. And we had just implemented electronic payments for our business licenses in July of 20. So this is the first full fiscal year which we had an environment where businesses could pay their application fees online, and also an environment where we had we had one additional administrative specialist assigned to the business registration and licensing unit. So that resulted in impacted the performance positively. We have more revenue than we did in FY20, and we attribute that to a very systematic and deliberate process of issuing licenses and doing compliance at the same time. So we identified and were able to identify businesses that had licenses that expired or opened up other ancillary businesses and operations that required registration. And we were able to kindly make that known to them. And we discovered that most businesses just want to do the thing that they want, that they're being licensed to do. So they don't really like the paperwork and the behind the scenes stuff, but they are very responsive with simple reminders. So we were able to increase compliance. We were able to increase the number of registrations we received, and also the revenues we received. So we were quite proud of the revenues we were able to get during FY21, and we hopefully will continue that performance going into this fiscal year and future ones. And real quickly here, I wanted to also incorporate some other statistics from the investigations unit, which were also very positive for FY21. We had 9.25% reduction in business days to close a consumer complaint compared to FY20. And we had 1.6 more cases that were resolved by OCP rather than having to be referred to other agencies for support. So Tracy, if you wanted to speak anything about the performance, otherwise I can go to the next slide.
I just wanted to commend the investigators because they really were able to pivot to a virtual world and had to adopt a lot of new technologies. And despite all the difficulties with a lot of our COVID-centric complaints that had myriad of new legal and factual issues that we've never dealt with before, for them to come up with these two improved metrics, I want to commend them publicly for doing an amazing job in the last fiscal year.
Very good.
Absolutely. I think the numbers support that our workforce had responded positively to the remote work environment, and we are making sure that this hybrid environment also keeps that momentum and our efficiency and productivity. Real quickly, I want to just provide an update as to our staffing and recruitment. This is just a brief overview about operations and how the different service delivery areas are broken down into. Real quickly, we had for calendar year 2021, we had 2 new positions that were filled. The executive administrative aide filled by Daniel Correa, who is handling our PowerPoint right now, and our program manager one, that is Maurice Valentine for the public election but liaison. We currently have 3 existing vacancies that we plan to fill in FY22. One of them is currently being advertised right now and hired, actively recruited, the IT specialist 2 position. We have admin specialist 1 position and a program manager 2 positions that are still to be filled and advertised. But as of right now, that's our complement of personnel, and we are working with our OMB shared services partners for our budget preparation that we should have completed in the next 2 weeks.
Then we have, with the drum roll, the slide that we're worried about.
Yeah, absolutely. We can appreciate that. Well, first off, thank you all very, very much for all that you do. And as we cannot say that enough, and I mean that sincerely. If I could turn to the Public Election Fund for just a second, Mr. Valentine. First off, thank you for doing all of this. I don't believe that Mr. Friedman thought that this was that he won a prize by getting this job, doing this work, I should say. But I know that you all will certainly do a great job with it. But I think it's extremely wise to have written responses for what people ask, because as we all know, and this can be an exciting time in election process, and somebody, even if they truly believe that they wanted to do the right thing, sometimes you don't hear the word not. Sometimes you don't hear the important things that someone is telling you. And that's why a written statement makes so much sense, because there's no confusion as to what was and what was not said or meant. And then the other question is, if someone sends in a written question and you give them that answer, is that available to everybody else? How does that work?
So thank you for the question. So at a later date, we will wrap those up into Q&A to distribute the answers so that everyone can view on how that situation is handled. But right now, we address directly to the persons, whoever has the question, we respond directly to them with that answer.
I see. And is that, do you tell when you do eventually get to saying what the question was, what the answer, would you be putting the person's name involved in that? Or would that be, more or less, we received a question and this was the answer? How is that going to work?
So we would not, that's not we don't get into specific of who asked the question, the answer that was provided, because that's just something where
I agree.
it's not a comfortable thing to do.
And you want someone to feel comfortable asking the questions.
Correct.
I mean, so I agree with you. So if someone wants to use public financing, should they start with your office? Whose office should they go to? Board of Elections, the supervisors of elections? Who should they start with? Anyone that's listening to this.
The first thing that they should do is go through the State Board of Elections MD Chris website, and that's where they can start their account with to open up their publicly financed campaign account and set up their notice of intent to participate in the program, as well as all the other committee documents that they have to get started with. Next step, they should communicate with me, because I can give them, I can help them through the process and guide them best. Of our 4 candidates that have candidates that have been certified, I have worked with 3 of them already. So that's probably a very good practice to contact me.
And I agree with that as well, but I wanted everyone to be extremely clear on how that's done. So there again, thank you. I'm going to turn to Council Vice President Aubrey, please.
Great. Thank you all so much. I really enjoy my briefings from you guys, because I always am heartened to know how much you punch above your weight. It really is remarkable, the reach and the critically important role that you play, a glue, frankly, in many ways, that provides our residents confidence and demonstrates the best of our government, and being able to provide services that impact people directly and indirectly. And so credit to you, Eric, and your team. I've had the opportunity to work alongside you for 12 years in a previous life, and just know how dedicated you are. And I'll just say a couple of other things while I'm giving out kudos. Mr. Valentine, full disclosure, I will be reaching out to you in the not too distant future as a publicly funded candidate. But I want to share with you, sir, that I have received great feedback about you and your responsiveness and your ability to manage a complex system. I was one of the guinea pigs in our first public finance system, along with my colleague, Chairman Katz, and it was challenging. But I really give our Government Operations Committee a lot of credit, and particularly Councilmember Navarro, for having the foresight to take the lessons learned from the last election cycle and apply them moving forward. I had the benefit of having a couple scars, small ones, from the last process, but the pros so significantly outweigh the cons with this system in every way imaginable. And the way we can expedite this to make it easier for all candidates levels the playing field in ways that frankly strengthen our democracy. And that I'm hoping sincerely that our federal and state governments follow at some point. And I think, like so many ways, Montgomery County is leading the way. So with all that said, all still very positive. I just did have a few questions. So Eric, and I apologize for calling you Eric. It's just, I've known you for so long. The Office of Human Rights is a sister county department and agency in many ways. And this council has been very aggressive in putting forth legislation to address some of the racial injustice and inequities that have existed for generations. And it's often Director Stowe's department who's the most front-facing in dealing with our small local businesses, but also residents reporting issues. But obviously there's a lot of crossover with your guys' work. Can you describe for me a little bit what that crossover looks like? I know that you have a great working relationship with Director Stowe, but from a practical standpoint, if maybe you could use that as an example and then expand on how you partner with other departments and agencies to further extend your reach.
So it's a difficult issue for sure. I know, and Jim Stowe does the best job that he can as well. There's probably not as much crossover as you might imagine, or maybe as much as there should be. Typically, we handle all kinds of disputes or that occur in the marketplace. However, if someone is alleging discrimination, and if that discrimination involves one of the protected classes, we would just refer them to Jim Stowe's office, and we would not get involved much at all. And so we just do that kind of screening on that, and once in a while there'll be something that overlaps to some extent. I mean, if in fact the consumer is alleging that they wouldn't let them buy something or charge too much because of that discrimination, we then have a little bit of overlap, but we would first let it be addressed by human rights, that being the bigger issue.
Got it. That's helpful.
I could add very
yes.
briefly, sir. I know that our advisory committee took great interest in the impact of COVID scams and the kinds of complaints that we were getting, especially dealing with communities of color. And so one of our advisory committee members actually took a download of our complaints and tried to analyze that to see were the communities of color getting more hits for scams or complaints than other communities. And based on our analysis, she was not able to really analyze and come up with a definitive answer, because it looked like what we later have come to understand is that the pandemic has been this great equalizer. Everybody's getting hit for all kinds of scams. I do know that the FTC just issued a report last week regarding the impact of race on consumer issues. And October 21st, there's a free webinar on it, which I'm happy to share if someone in your staff would be interested in attending that program. But it is an issue that is starting to get a lot more look at in the consumer arena. But Eric is absolutely right. We do end up screening this issue and referring it because they do have the primacy and the experience and the competency to look at those issues more, and we look at it from the marketplace issues.
Thank you. That's really helpful. And I guess, I do think that it would be helpful moving forward. This next council is going to have at least 5 new colleagues. And so I think this is one of those departments in particular that we should invest some time and energy in making sure our newer colleagues are aware of the services that you all provide, because it helps, as we refer constituents to you all, knowing that you will be following through, but also it helps us be able to ask better questions on the front end so that the turnover from our offices to yours is as efficient as it can be. So I would put in a plug. It's a whirlwind. I can personally attest to 3 years ago. And it's like one of those things where I thought I knew a lot about the county going into this gig, but oh my goodness, I've learned so much. But that would be helpful. Couple of other thoughts. Mr. Boo, I loved your OCP journey map. It looked like a metro line. So it felt very comfortable and at home for me in the way that you laid that out. And so it was very, very user friendly, I'm sure by design. So that was really smart because, this information can often be overwhelming, particularly in the digital space. So the way to translate that information in a way that people can consume and absorb, because we can have this great technology, but if people are afraid of it or don't know how to access or use it, then it sort of defeats the purpose. So I give you a lot of credit for the manner in which you put that together. That makes a lot of sense.
Thanks.
And I do want to express my appreciation for the partnership that we had with our office and yours early on during the vaccination. There were all sorts of scams that were coming forward. And, the fastest growing demographic we have here is our aging population. And they are especially vulnerable to the kinds of scams that we're seeing out there. And unfortunately, there are just going to be more and more of them as people get more and more desperate globally because of the economy and the challenges that we're facing. You're going to start to see more bad actors because, there are fewer places to turn. And so this is something that we have to stay on top of. My final question, and this is more of a general question, but we have strong partnerships with our state and federal partners, and I would assume you all do as well. The work often crosses over. Where does local jurisdiction start and the state and federal government end, and vice versa? But can you talk a little bit about your partnerships and alliances with our state and federal agencies? And is there more we can do there?
Can I interrupt before you answer? Could someone from IT, Sky, could you please let Tom Hucker back in? I think he's coming in now. He got knocked off and was waiting to get back in. I don't know whether Eric wants him back. No, go ahead. Eric, go ahead.
Well, yeah, we try to collaborate as much as we can. As you probably know, Brian Frosch's Attorney General's office has a consumer protection division, so a sister agency, and we coordinate as much as we can with them and the array of state agencies and federal as well. So we try and share information as much as we can. Our jurisdiction obviously is limited. But we try to work with as many agencies as possible, because that's clearly what has to happen to get anything accomplished in today's complicated marketplace.
And to add regarding our state partners, we frequently, at least once a month, work with the Attorney General's office home builder contracting unit to administer our home builder or new home seller process. So we check with them regarding applicants or builders over there. Have there any Office Attorney General complaints, guarantee fund claims issued against builders? Because those will be relevant for our discussions when it comes to renewing or reviewing an application when it comes for renewal. So we do work with our state partner, the Office Attorney General, at least on a monthly basis. And Mr. Valentine is always working with the State Board of Elections regarding the Public Election Fund. We try to make those interactions as positive and as efficient as possible. So when it comes to like the home building side of things, we're thinking of ways to creatively or better utilize our state resources to hopefully effectuate some more decisions or more enforcement at the state at our local jurisdiction level. It's a little bit harder sometimes in the home builder case arena, because sometimes builders pop up and they are only working in Montgomery County, so therefore they don't have to work with the state, don't have to register with the state Office of Attorney Generals if they exclusively build in Montgomery County. So then we have to be the ones to identify odd building practices, questionable building practices, and try to remediate those at our level. But we do try to maximize our engagement with our state and federal partners.
And I think we'll probably put in a quick plug for other local agencies. On the investigation side, we obviously touch base with Fairfax County, Howard County, and Arlington for similar complaints against some certain actors to see if there is a pattern in practice. And the Woodchucks Task Force obviously works with local police and in Maryland and DC and Northern Virginia to be able to help track down these deposit thieves, essentially is who they are. So we definitely leverage our collaboration across the board.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just the final thought, I appreciated the picture of the rebuild. It was, to be fair, it was an awfully nice fireplace, but that clearly that was not the intent, and I can certainly understand that. And that, there's exploitation among the workers too, for these, unscrupulous builders who are, these employees are breaking their backs, in some cases literally trying to build in conditions that are unsafe. And then, of course, the consumer who buys these homes not knowing that somebody is not as reputable as they may be perceived is a huge issue. So, and that also combines, the partnership and alliances with other departments and agencies. How do we make it easier for people to go down the right road and seek the appropriate certifications to become part of the system that helps manage their situations, keeps them safe, but also their employees as well. So there's a lot of angles here, and I appreciate that. So, and if there are any other ideas or concerns from a policy standpoint, I know all of my colleagues and I on this committee stand ready to move things forward if they're going to help increase safety and protect all of our county residents. So thank you all so much. I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. First off, could you define the term woodchuck? I believe it involves tree cutters and contractors, but if you could define that, please.
Yeah, it typically means unlicensed home improvement contractors. The term probably was woodchucks because typically they would climb into a tree to cut a branch. And while they were up there, they would be able to say, well, we looked at your roof while within that vantage point and we realized your roof is leaking. So now we want to come into your house and sell you something. And so it kind of took on that name.
Very good. I thought that was what it was, but I wanted to be clear. And I think it should be noted that not every county in Maryland has a consumer affairs office. Are we the only county in Maryland that has one?
Howard County has a small consumer protection office, which is rolled into a bigger agency. So we are the only standalone in the state. That is correct.
And you, as we said, do a wonderful job. And I too wanted to warn Mr. Valentine, not only will you see the smiling face of Vice President Aubrey, but you will be getting to see my smiling face as well. It's tis the season, as they say. So when you will see all of us, I believe most of us over time. Council President Hucker, are you back with us? Are you here?
I'm back. Sorry, I had a little IT problem and then I was waiting in the waiting room for a bit, but I'm back. Let me get on my phone. I'm having some problem with my laptop. Let me go back to where I was on my questions. I think a lot of my questions were answered, though. This has been very thorough. Maybe not. Let me scroll. Eric, thanks for everything you and your staff are doing. We say this every year, but you definitely, as was said, punch above your weight. And we wish, we wish there wasn't any need for you, but for your office, but it seems like it's only increasing now under COVID. Do we talk about just your outreach? We talk about it every year, but is there you always report on more progress on adding additional languages or additional tactics to reach out to people? That might be my only question.
Well, we're doing the best we can, but we always need to do more. It is still very difficult to make sure that all the million people in Montgomery County are aware of our services. And we're hoping that Maurice Valentine, on an off season, when there's not an election going on, will be able to really fill in the missing pieces and help us to do more with outreach. So that's our hope as well, because clearly we need to do more to reach all the communities in Montgomery County.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We've been primarily doing webinars, although we did do some in-person events over the summer and into early fall. And we do collaborate with a lot of our sister agencies to expand our reach and to be able to reach the consumers that follow them. So what's happening MoCo, for example, or working with HHS to reach some of their constituencies. So we do end up coordinating with Montgomery Aldea, for example, will be on a radio program coming up. So whenever we can, we are collaborating in order to reach out to as many as we can.
Right. Thanks. And you're obviously in touch with the Commission on Aging and
I sit on the Age-Friendly Montgomery, so that I definitely have.
I thought so. Yeah. Okay. And the Retired Employees Association, the Retired Teachers Association.
I know we have contacts at the Citizens Academy, but not the two retired groups you mentioned. I'm happy to reach out if and make those contacts though.
Yeah, we'd be happy to put you in touch. We meet with certainly the retired employees every year, as the chairman's familiar with, and given that seniors are so targeted, and we definitely want to take care of the seniors that used to run the county and teach our kids. Those would be two groups I think I would try to add to your list.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Great. I think that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did want to mention that I know that for the senior forums, Eric has done several of the senior forums that my office has done and given presentations. And there's a special place in hell for people that are really targeting anyone, but especially seniors. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. It really is. But and I don't want to end on a note of disgusting, but we do appreciate everything you do. And, you know, I think it should be noted that Montgomery County does not do everything that we always applaud, that we on the council always applaud. But one thing that Montgomery County really does do right is consumer protection. And we do it ourselves. And we have partners in the federal government. We have partners in the state government. But Montgomery County takes care of its own, which is very, very gratifying for all of us. And with that, once again, we thank you for what you're doing, and we're going to end this meeting before 3:30. Not a whole lot before 3:30, but we're going to end it before 3:30. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.